Hello. Happy Thanksgiving week and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. Hi, guys. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and happy Thanksgiving week to all of those of you who are enjoying this time with your families, celebrating with your loved ones. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope wherever you are, you're enjoying a lovely week and hopefully finding some rest, some presence for those precious moments that mean the most in the world. The reason why we do what we do are those moments with the people we love the most. And you know that mad rush that happens right before you leave the office, like the last thing you do in the last few days before anytime we close the office for the holidays. And then that mad rush you experience during the holidays, and you get to the end of the holidays feeling a little bit exhausted, right? And completely disappointed because you had such high hopes leading up to it. I know, like in those last few weeks, this sprint to the finish, and we think, oh my gosh, it's going to be so great to finally be on vacation. It's going to be so great to not be seeing patients for a few days, to not go into the office. I'm just going to sit and relax by the fire. I'm going to have some one-on-one time with my family. And it's so disappointing when that doesn't happen. And we start to feel so disillusioned. Like, oh my gosh, it wasn't the rest that I had expected. It wasn't the connection that I had hoped for. I just ended up rushing through the holidays and it was more work. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming. And sometimes it can seem underwhelming. Everything you've looked forward to, right? We put such high expectations on that vacation, on that holiday. And then when it actually happens, we feel a little bit defeated, a little bit deflated. And so today what we're going to talk about is how to find those moments of presence when you're home, when you are on your holiday, on your break, on those few days that you've set aside to be away from the office, how to find the calm and the reprieve and the rest that you need and deserve, and then how to show up at the office when you come back after the holidays, feeling great, feeling excited, enthusiastic, and not like you've just left a disaster zone to walk back to the next day. I know. This is exactly what I remember. I remember from my practice this mad frenzy, and it's exciting. It's exciting frenzy. It's exciting frenzy leading up to the holidays. I mean, our patients bring it with them. Even the patients are feeling the energy and the excitement for the holidays. And the music gets a little bit louder, and we all feel this energetic build. It's almost like a mania that happens right before we leave on the holidays. And, you know, we feel that frenzy from our team members. They're doing a million things. They're planning menus. They're doing extra shopping. They're, getting ready for their families or for their long traveling that they might be doing. So they're putting all kinds of extra things in play. And what you start to notice is people start to drop balls. Am I right? In that frenzy, that kind of feels good. It's a little bit of a manic phase for the whole office. Is people start to make mistakes, drop balls, and cut corners. And now it adds more work onto everybody else's plate. And it contributes to the stress level that's the buildup right before we leave for the holidays. And I'm going to call it stress level, even though sometimes it feels a little fun. We get on a high, start checking off boxes. Have you ever had that experience in the practice where you are doing so much more than you usually do, and it feels kind of good? And you realize, oh my gosh, look at me. I just did 10 extra things that I don't usually get done in a week. Let me see how many more I can get done. And then we go into the holidays, and the problem is we carry that same frenzy, stress state into the holidays with us. And that is why we don't experience the calm and the relaxation and the presence and those precious moments that we want so dearly, because we've been riding this high of frenzy and mania, and it does not stop. So what I'm here to tell you today is, what if the way you showed up for the holidays actually started with the way you show up before the holidays? there seems to always be so much more added to our plates. There seems to be, in those last few days before the holidays, additional emergency patients squeezing in appointments. They didn't realize that their college kid would be home for the holidays and they didn't have the extra appointment. Can we just squeeze them in? And we're squeezing in extra appointments. We start noticing that there's more added to our plates. And if you're already functioning on that adrenaline high, it can seem easy. Yeah, just squeeze them in. But not paying attention to your body is where we lose sight of the fact that you might be in a state of fight or flight. And when we're in a state of fight or flight, that's when we start noticing mistakes, not just in the team members, but ourselves. Because remember, as the leader of the team, you are setting the energetic tone for the practice. If you're doing a million things, adding in a million new tasks onto your plate, they're doing the same. They're watching you do the same. And the truth is, you have been functioning at capacity this whole year round. So thinking that we can squeeze in extra tasks, extra responsibilities, extra projects without properly planning and making space for them actually sets us up for making mistakes, for losing a clarity of where our focus really should be. And the trouble with this high is that as we fly into the holidays on this high of checking off boxes and squeezing in extra tasks and maybe even feeling a little bit of a adrenaline rush from it, there's the inevitable crash. And the crash is what we experience when we realize I didn't actually get the rest and the one-on-one moments with my family that I had hoped for. And now we start questioning everything. What is all of this for? And that's where we start experiencing more of those existential questions of why am I doing this? And is this all worth it? Today, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to approach the holidays a little bit differently. 3 suggestions to take into your work, into your practice, and into your life so that you can actually get what you want. So if what you want is more rest and calm on your days off, if what you want is more of that human connection and deeper relationships and being available and present in your heart and in your head in the moment, those precious moments over the holidays, because guys, that's what this is all about. We don't know when that last Thanksgiving is going to be with grandma. We don't know when that little girl who is growing up in front of your eyes is going to turn into a woman. And we're going to have missed those moments, those precious moments together. And those are the parts that actually color our lives. They don't feel as dopaminergic as like that little hit that we get from a rush or a high from checking off boxes. It's not the same adrenaline rush, but it is the long-term magic. It is the long-term value and quality that actually supports sustainable happiness and success. It's those moments that are more mature and pregnant with value, with love, and most importantly, slowing down. So this is my first suggestion. Slow down, even before you leave for the holidays, because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So if you're noticing yourself in the office beginning to ramp up and get a little busier and start to move things a little faster and start checking off boxes and clearing things off frantically, just pause for a moment and take a deep breath in. For those of you watching on YouTube, I'm literally closing my eyes and just breathe. I'm noticing in my body this frenzy, and I'm just slowing down and calming my nervous system. See, that frenzy can feel really good, but it's actually an indicator of a stress response. You are very good at what you do, and you are very capable. And when your body goes into fight or flight, maybe your go-to stress response is do more. Am I right? It's the do more that is actually perpetuating the stress. feels really good in the moment. Like I said, checking off boxes, doing a million things a million miles an hour, and then being really impressed with yourself feels like a good hit, but it's like a taste of chocolate. It's a dopamine hit, but it isn't sustainable. And it doesn't add to long-term presence, because when you're in that state of mania, your body will not allow you to be present, to be slow enough in your energy, to be calm enough in your energy to actually pay attention to the person in front of you or the experience in front of you. You're on to the next thing. So the first suggestion is to slow it down. So how do we do that? One of the most effective ways is simply by taking in a deep breath. And why this works biologically is because we are turning on your parasympathetic nervous system calm. What you've done is you've noticed, I'm in this frenzy of checking off boxes. I'm doing a million things a million miles an hour. Let me recognize that as an indicator light that my body is in fight or flight. Let me recognize that as an indicator light that I am in stress mode, even if it feels good. And let me just slow it down for a moment. It's not going to take away from your experience. It's not going to take away from the enjoyment. It's just going to make the happiness and the appreciation a little deeper by literally asking your body, your autonomic nervous system, to just calm for a moment. There is nothing to outrun. There is no urgency. I know we create this urgency in our mind's eye, but that is also a trick of the sympathetic nervous system. See, when you are in stress mode, when you are in fight or flight, we have a time distortion and things feel more urgent, even though they aren't. This beautiful practice of just slowing down for 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and taking a deep breath will actually make you more present and energetically more calm and focused on the tasks you need to do. And then fewer mistakes get made. Fewer mistakes get made because we've all had that experience where we get back to the office Monday morning after the holidays and it is a shit show. Am I right? Like things are just, there's a mess in every part of the office. The stereo station looks like a wrecking ball went through it. Orders weren't placed. It always feels more stressful to arrive at the office on Monday morning when we have this shit show. And I remember in my practice, what we actually started doing was we actually scheduled patients 3 hours later on that first Monday, knowing we'd have to clean up a mess. I'm inviting you to consider calming before you leave. And remember, as the leader, you set the energetic tone. Simply by allowing yourself to calm and breathing during the day and recognizing that stress, you're going to allow for your team members to do the same. And how magical would it be if you started out your morning huddle with that? Just a couple deep breaths and focus so that mistakes aren't made. If your day is fueled by adrenaline and dopamine, you are going to crash. Same thing for your team. We are all humans, and this is exactly what happens in our bodies. So tip number 1, breathe. See if you can calm things down in your body before you finish the work week, before you go away on holiday. Tip number 2, do not add anything extra. So many extra things are going to happen. There are going to be additional patient emergencies. They're trying to get them in before they leave for their trip to grandma, which is 3 hours away. It's going to happen. You are going to want to make space. There is more to do right around the holidays. And as dentists, as highly successful, high-achieving women, we tend to take on a lot. We tend to be the host for Thanksgiving for our entire families. We tend to be the ones that coordinates everything. We tend to be the ones that take on so many extra responsibilities. I'm going to invite you to not add anything extra in the office. What does that mean? I remember several Thanksgivings. It's a short work week anyway. We'd end at noon on Wednesday. So we had this really almost a half a work week squeezed in, a full week squeezed into half the number of hours. And I remember getting there that week, and it always comes up as a surprise, and thinking, oh, I really should send thank you cards to all my team members. That really would have great meaning to them. I hadn't thought of that. And then I squeezed into those 3 days, not only all the work I was doing at home and at the office, but I decided I was going to write every single one a handwritten thank you note. We tend to think we can just squeeze things in, and we don't make the space and time for it. So if you have these brilliant creative ideas that you know would be really meaningful, make space and time in your schedule. Don't squeeze anything in. It's such a brilliant idea. It's such a great way to foster that connection and appreciation. But if we don't schedule it in our calendar, it's going to be squeezed in. And squeezed in adds up stress. So I'm going to give you permission right now. If you hadn't thought about it ahead of time, and if you didn't schedule in time in the shortened work week, give yourself permission to give them those letters next week or the week after. Gratitude is always appreciated, but notice that little urgency that you're adding. Oh no, but it's Thanksgiving. They're going to expect it at Thanksgiving. I should be supporting them at Thanksgiving and recognizing, notice the urgency and recognize it for what it is. It's a false, distorted sense of time that your stressed out body is imposing on you. It isn't true. So tip number 2, do not squeeze anything extra in. If you need to or want to, and it feels so good, it's going to make you feel really good, schedule a time to do it. Make a time. Don't squeeze it in. Tip number 3, what can you let go of? And this is my favorite tip. What can you let go of altogether? Sometimes this is a task. Sometimes this is a responsibility, and sometimes this is a mindset. Sometimes it's a belief. When it comes to tasks, perhaps it's something like cleaning out all of the items in your to-do box. I must get this done before I leave on vacation. What can you put down? Can you put down that expectation, that task? Can you remind yourself that everything will still be there when you get back? Now, maybe you're like me and you know that clearing out that inbox, clearing out that basket on your desk will actually allow you to feel more calm and presence over the holidays so that you don't have it looming over you. Wonderful. Then schedule it in. Find a time, put it on your schedule, put on some delicious calming music, and joyfully go through your inbox. This goes back to tip number 2, don't squeeze it in. If you've never gone through that inbox, that basket on your desk, this week before the holidays is not the time to squeeze it in. Either give yourself permission to put it down altogether or schedule a time to do it. And the thing that I love about this is when I say, what can you let go of? I don't just mean the idea. I mean mentally. How can you do something we call in psychology mental offloading? How can you offload this task? And by scheduling it, that is one way we do it. In other words, you're not needing to hold on to that thought to remember it, that task. So if you've decided I'm going to empty out my basket, I keep calling it a basket. I'm picturing old school before digital days, right? Where you had a basket on your desk and there were a ton of letters you needed to sign and checks you needed to sign. But maybe this is in your Asana or your Slack, some kind of a practice management software that you have. So if you've decided I'm going to clear this out, that would make me feel really good. By putting it on your calendar, by scheduling it, it doesn't matter what time you've scheduled it, you've taken it out of your head to remember it. You've put it in another place that's automating it. So we all know as leaders that the best way for us to grow and scale our businesses, to grow and scale our personal development is automation, delegation, and deletion. And that's really what we're talking about at this point is the deletion component of what can I put down? And sometimes we can use technology to do that. The key component here is how can I offload it out of my head, the responsibility of needing to carry this task around with me and need to remember it. By putting it in your calendar, you're creating a sense of mental offloading. It's in the calendar. I don't need to think about it. I'm going to do it on Tuesday morning at this time. Brilliant. Sometimes we need to let go of our own expectations for ourselves. I'm expecting my house to be spotless for all the family to show up. Maybe that's something we can put down. I can put down the expectation that I'm going to have fresh baked croissants for breakfast for everyone who's sleeping over. What additional task or expectation can you actually set down and relieve yourself of? And this is so powerful because we never even question it, right? We never even question it, how much we add onto our own plates. Maybe it's needing to buy new placemats for the dinner table. If that's not enjoyable, if that's not something you have set aside time for, squeezing in that extra task is going to amp up your nervous system and continue to push you to a place of frenzy and overwhelm. And that energy we take with us into the holidays. You know, it's so interesting. I was just speaking on a podcast yesterday, and we were talking about work-life balance. And it always comes up around this time of year. How do I find this work-life balance? And I think so many times we think work-life balance means working as hard as you can and then resting as hard as you can. And there's the sense of, I need to rest equivalently for as much as I work. And while the rest is such a huge component, we don't have to burn ourselves down before we rest. We can actually have a more balanced perspective of allowing for more calm in our work, for perpetuating this calm during the day leading up to the holidays, and allowing for this new habit pattern, this new propensity to continue through into our private lives. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. We don't just push, and then our bodies suddenly know how to rest. Rest and calm is actually a practice skill. And it does not mean lowering your expectations for outcomes, goals, or dreams. In fact, it's how we achieve the great things. It's how we achieve bigger dreams and create bigger businesses. It's by reminding our bodies that in the moment you are safe and it is okay to progress calmly. So, really, the two practices here in every single one of these tips is number one, awareness. Just paying attention to your body, recognizing when you're in that frenzy, recognizing when you're adding more things onto your plate, recognizing when you're squeezing things in without planning, without being realistic in terms of what you can get done during the day. That's the first thing. And then doing this practice of calming your body down and stepping back into parasympathetic calm. And as I mentioned, my favorite way to do that is closing your eyes, hand on heart, other hand on your belly, and just taking in a deep breath through your nose. And then slowly exhaling. And really the key here is slowing down the exhale. There's so many beautiful practices of counting, different ways of counting the inhale, holding it, and then exhaling. But if all you remember is to slow down the exhale, pay attention to the exhale, you will allow your body to calm down just a little bit. And let it be okay if you calm down just a fraction. It doesn't mean it's not working if you don't suddenly feel blissed out on the beach. It's okay if you feel a little less stress. That's working for your body. But remembering to start that practice before you even leave the office and go on vacation. Because once you've done that, you've given your body permission to stay calm, to reach for calm, to not continue that frenzy throughout the vacation or the holidays. And now you'll actually have permission from your body to be present for that fireside chat with your sister-in-law, to be present at the dinner table and not just eat your food so fast that you don't even remember eating the meal you spent all morning making. Actually holding conversation, actually valuing that time together. And then give yourself permission to have some reflection on what an amazing job you've been doing all year at the practice. that gratitude that we experience at Thanksgiving can be translated to your work as well. Because once again, the way we do one thing is the way we do everything. So take the Thanksgiving time seriously. Give thanks. Give thanks for everything you have in your life and also for this beautiful work that we get to do. It'll allow you so much more value. And remember, when you feel good, that is when you can do good. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Business of Happiness podcast. If this episode brought you new perspective and value, I invite you to subscribe so that you catch all upcoming episodes and leave us a review. And if you know of a friend or colleague who could benefit from this perspective, share this episode with them and empower their day. For more information about the Business of Happiness and the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, find me on www.thebizofhappiness.com. See you there.